Rocking Chair Session. With Elisa Di Battista and Maria Teresa Barber.
Hello everyone,
and welcome to RCS Rocking Chair Sessions, volume 35, with artist, photographer Sarah Moody.
Sarah MK Moody.
Hello.
Hi, and baby Stella.
And baby Stella.
Thank you so much for coming in with us on this Basel weekend. We're pre-recording for our Monday release. It's quite hectic, and the temperature has dropped.
The temperature has dropped
for
the Floridians.
For the Floridians.
Not for these northern birds.
Not for the northern birds.
It's still nice and warm here in Miami for us.
So you're located in New York at the moment?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
In Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's where I am, which is where my mother and her family are from. So I have long-time roots there, and my mom's one of 6 girls, and they all live in Erie, Pennsylvania. So to have baby Stella, I thought it would be the most appropriate to be with all these amazing women.
And have a wonderful support system already there.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And last year I built myself a studio and darkroom in the basement of my house. Mm-hmm. So I was set. Haven't used it so much since Stella was born, but no problem, I will soon enough.
You will. Well, she was basically just born, right?
Exactly.
She's 11 weeks now?
She's 11 weeks.
Incredible.
So I'm there in Erie. It's really nice, but happy to be back in Miami for some time. It's Basel.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back.
Land.
Did you come to Miami also for our Basel or also visiting family?
I came for our Basel to visit family and for my best friend's wedding, Sarah and Newberry and Emmett Moore, who are getting married next weekend.
Wow. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, exactly. So I am going to act as a bridesmaid and stand up and support their nuptials.
That's wonderful.
Next weekend.
That's wonderful.
So I came for all of these nice reasons. It's nice to be home with the friends.
Mm-hmm. And then you're gonna go back to Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I'll go back there and see where the wind takes us in the next few years. But for now, that's where I'm based.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
It's really nice. Beautiful woods, lake, outdoor, just different environment than here, which is a good change for me.
Yeah, completely different, right? Did you go to any Basel events?
I went to the convention center.
You did?
With baby Stella. I thought she was the cutest thing in there.
Definitely.
But not really.
We're gonna have to put her on the Polaroid.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to that, and today I think I'll go to Untitled and maybe Superfine if I can make it there. But I didn't have huge goals of places to go while I was here because it's just nice to sit and watch the dolphins go by sometimes.
You were just telling us that you saw all those dolphins today.
Exactly,
right?
I saw the dolphins today, which is amazing, a dolphin pod, and that was really nice. So. But it's nice to be around art again. But mostly I found myself since I arrived in Miami watching all the people because everyone themselves are walking art. The fashion is so different than suburban Erie.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Like, wow, that's how you keep your hair right now? And do you know what I mean? Sitting in a restaurant is so exciting.
It's a different world, right?
It's a completely different world. Yeah. So it's exciting. It's a whole new different energy for me.
Well, we were predominantly interviewing just South Florida-based artists, but I felt like your name came up. Ernesto Kunde recommended you because you were both out in Little Haiti with your studios, and I feel like before we started RCS sessions, you did so much locally here in Miami for so many years, and I'm like, well, we have to have Sarah K. Moody here because I mean, you've just done so many different projects and collaborations with different either associations or institutions or even other artists. I was like, we had to, whether you're locally based, I know that you were going to have baby Stella, and it's like Zika area was Little Haiti. I mean, what's better safety than moving away? Which project do you want to start, Maria? Because I know I have a few. Yes.
Which project do you want to speak about first? There are so many.
We'll give you the option.
Well, past or present?
Definitely past, I think.
Past. Well, let's see.
Past and present.
Past and present. We'll want to do both.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting being back because it was a roller coaster of emotions to close the studio in Little Haiti. That was such a nice base for me and so many people for so many years. Mm-hmm. And it was cool to drive by the other day and I saw that I, of course, was the only person to paint my door in our studio complex, and it's still orange, so I was happy I'm still there.
You left your mark.
I left my mark. It hasn't been changed, so that was nice to see. Mm-hmm. And the last show, well, it's Basel, so I guess I Haiti Basel always comes up when I'm in this time period. Grateful to, all the Basels, grateful to be in a different place, but it's nice to reflect on it. And also nice to be in this time period, but right now with less going on. Mm-hmm. Last year, I had the Everything Must Go show, which was one of the most wild shows in the studio, such a mess, where people came in, well, what's for sale? I'm like, well, what do you want? Because everything must go. So you want my couch? Give me an offer. We'll sell that to you. That was really a fun show.
How did that work in Maggie Knox in the studio space? Because I know you did residencies there, you had your own studio space there.
Yeah. So I got Maggie Knox Studio originally for my first kind of big project in Miami, which was Create Collect. And so I got the studio because we needed a space and I wanted a studio as well to make my own work. And so Create Collect was a website that sold art online but also had shows in person. And we featured a handful of different creators and it was based between Miami and New York, and I ran the Miami version of it. But also we stored all of the art in the Miami studio primarily because we had the space. In New York it's
no space.
No space. So we had our first Basel show, it was 2013 when we simultaneously launched the website and had our first show, which featured 20 artists. Wow. And we had a huge space in Wynwood, and somehow pulled it off, where we launched both things at the same time, and that was no sleep, as all great projects are. And we had 150 works on view, and we had a big success. So all of that work, we also my partner and I drove it all the New York art from New York to Miami in a huge Penske truck.
Oh no.
And installed it, and it was great.
All by yourself?
Oh yeah, we did it all. It was awesome.
Yeah,
so, and that show also was very cool because Marilyn Rondon painted a mural in the backsplash of the show, and the collaborative group PS Brothers, which is Maraka and Nico, installed a huge room and painted a mural for the week of install. So that was really multi-sensory. That was really exciting, that show. And so all the work stayed in Miami in the Little Haiti studio, and then Create Collect broke up and Maggie Knox was born, and the studio transformed again. So that space was kind of this ever-evolving studio and space, and was constantly it's always reinventing itself, which was really cool, and it's nice to think about it. So Maggie Knox was born, which was great. My name is Sarah Margaret Knox Moody, and I go by Sarah MK Moody, so I always thought, well, what is the MK? That's kind of my internal, these initials, who is that person? So I named the business Maggie Knox and the concept Maggie Knox, and it's also named after my grandmother, who is Mary Margaret Knox, so I named it after her as well, and the strongest woman I know. So that was important for me. So Maggie Knox was born, and I wanted to, in reflection to Create Collect, work with women. So Maggie Knox was a women's space. And the studio, gallery, residency, kind of this incubator that was created was just home for so many women, and I had lots of different people working in the space over the few years, but it was always like I almost never got anything done because people were always stopping by.
It was like a social place, right?
It was a social place, but it was also a place where a lot of people came to connect in lots of different ways. So I mean, I achieved quite a bit, but it would be funny. I'd be sitting on my computer and someone would knock on the door and we'd go into a whole different place, and that was part of the magic of it, was that it was ever changing and evolving, and there's many people coming and going. But it really was a home base for many different people, and I like to reflect on what came through there and then to look at those artists and see where they are now.
One of them is Lauren Shapiro, which we interviewed here as well, and she was a resident there, right?
She was a resident, she worked there, and that was really nice. And it was another version of it because it went from a photo studio, well, it was a gallery, and then we built the dark room because the dark room went into the storage space. So it was a photo studio, and then some painters moved in, and then Lauren moved in with her ceramics. So it was just this, again, ever-evolving space for that. It was really fun. And the space was being built all the time, so I was constantly putting different additions on and changing it. So I feel like anytime anyone walked in, they said, "Oh, it looks so different in here." So that was very exciting. It's really cool. A lot happened in there.
I'm really interested where this motivation and this desire came from to really open your space like this. You could have just said, I have my studio, I'm going to be in the dark room, I'm going to do my photography, and that's it.
Right.
Where did you get the inspiration to really open up like that and share the space with?
Well, I always like being two people or wearing different hats, and so it's one as being the artist and the other as being the connector, and bringing people together and putting others on view. I'm very proud to see these different artists that I know grow and evolve, and it's incredibly and has been incredibly important to show their work, and that's why Maggie Knox has a different name, and what that space became was a place for me to show others' work, because it's part of me just being this mother figure and wanting to share this work that's not being shown that I'm seeing and am just so excited about, and also give myself a space to share my work. And sometimes it's just easier to do it on your own than to sell it to someone else. Somehow I could sell my own work, sell someone else's work, and share it with others. And that's what it became. So it's natural for me. Growing up, I always had people over to my house. So it's the same kind of thing. Like it's just easier to come to me. Not easier, it's just natural for me. And so Maggie Knox grew in this very natural way, and it was nice because I had already made all these contacts and had all this access to work, and I'd started working with so many different amazing people through Create Collect, and then I wanted to continue that, but just on a kind of a smaller scale, or work with less people, and on a local level, and I laid the groundwork for that. And the 7111 studio complex was just buzzing all the time with so many inspiring, amazing people like Ernesto Kunde, who you've also interviewed. There's so many people coming in and out that were constantly inspiring me, and it made sense to kind of bring in those people that were coming to the space to see the work that I was interested in that was happening on a local level. And why get another space when you have a space? For me, it made sense to use the space. So it was also interesting because I think studio visits are an incredibly intimate experience. So it was oscillating between the studio space and inviting people into that environment, but then cleaning up the studio and transforming it to a different space, either a gathering space, a learning space, a connecting space, a networking space, or an exhibition space. And all of those looked different and evolved over the years of having that studio, which is almost 4 years.
Yeah.
When did the decision come to you that you had to say, like, no, I have to close the doors on Maggie Knox for now?
When I got pregnant.
When you got pregnant, that
Yeah, it was, I mean, prior to getting pregnant, I was wondering what was going to happen. My sister died the August before, and that really rocked my whole life, as of course, I guess. She's my biggest inspiration, the person of most of my work. And so my whole life changed, and I was thinking, well, what do I do now? Maybe I'll move on to a different project, move on to a different city, try to do something else. It just felt like one door closed and another needed to open, and I didn't really know what was going to happen, and I got pregnant. That's what happened. And so a new creation began. And so it was natural to me that I couldn't run the space and create the baby at the same time. And so I, for a while, was kind of juggling of how do I keep both things running, and maybe Maggie Knox can exist in some other way, someone can sublet the space, I can come back into it. But it ended up being the best thing that happened, which was close those doors and Maggie Knox will open again somewhere else. I'm not quite sure where, but it definitely is going to happen, and it will continue somewhere else. But Maggie Knox was definitely married to that space, that specific space, because that was the heart of it. But my intention for it was always to be larger than that space and larger than Miami, and for it to live in more places. So I think next year I'm planning on having 3 shows in 3 cities as under Maggie Knox's name, so that will bring it back to life in a different place. So, and Miami will be one of them, so we'll come back, but I'm happy to have some time to kind of disassociate it from that space and bring it back to its larger purpose. I mean, the end goal is to have have Maggie Knox Foundation to have a museum, but we'll get there.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Where is the museum going to be?
Not sure yet.
Stay here, and you could have dolphin be your logo.
We'll see. We have some life can be long.
Yeah, life can be long.
Well, the space will come. Right now, working on other things.
Amazing.
We'll get there.
So the exhibitions that you're planning, the Maggie Knox exhibitions, is that going to be also like a group of women showing together, or is it going to be your work?
It will be my work and Isadora Shamash, who is an artist based in New York, and she's a photographer, painter, candle maker, artist. Great lady, and she's based in New York, so we've been collaborating for the past year. She was my sister's best friend, and so we instantly came together, and so we've been creating a bunch of photographs together and other work together since then. So we will show some of that work, and we're calling it Ascension. It's a new life. So that's in creation, and it will be at the later part of 2018. And it will primarily be photographs, but there will be ritual involved in it as well, which she and I created a project, Sage the World, and so that will be part of the show. And Sage the World also is evolving, and Sage the World was born when my sister passed. Izzy wanted to do something nice for me, so she went home to New York after my sister's funeral and staged New York City because she wanted me to come back there. And my sister had been treated there for her cancer at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And so Izzy staged New York and made a video for me as a way to, to clean it out so that I could come back. And because I was living in New York when my sister was diagnosed and moved to Miami to be with her for the early part of her treatment, which was in Miami. And so I kind of left my life in New York to be with her, and so Izzy staged it to clean it so I could return. And we brought Sage the World together to 3 Points last year, where for the 3 days of the festival we cleansed the space in a all day long kind of but
like
we,
a ritual.
As a ritual. So we opened every day when the grounds opened, we cleansed the space, and periodically throughout the day, which the grounds are open from 5 until 5, we cleanse the space, and every night we sage it again. So we've been carrying that ritual since then, and she actually saged yesterday before the Wu-Tang show. So it's cleanse the grounds, and so those rituals are something we've been working on and forming for a while, and Sage the World is changing as it should into its place, but we want to be able to offer those cleansing rituals for people to help move their own energy around if they need that. So that was kind of my last big. I had a show in May, which was the last show in the Maggie Knox space, called Goodbye to All That, which was a Joan Didion article when she moved from New York. And so there's many things, but it made sense. And that show was mostly a solo show of mine, but also had Isidora's photographs from Cuba. She and I traveled to Cuba together, so we showed some of those photographs. And I don't know why I got onto that one, but it was the last.
That was
the last show in the Little Haiti space. But the 3 Point show, the 3 Point staging felt like the last big project that I did in Miami before now. The show was kind of made the most sense to close the space. But
if we go back a little more, you were born in Chicago, is it right?
Yes.
And then, but you grew up in Miami?
I did. So I was born in Chicago, lived in Los Angeles and New York, but moved to Miami by the time I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so Miami and New York have kind of both been my homes for my whole life. I went to Dash for graphic design, which they didn't have a photography program, so graphics was kind of I would create a space.
They still don't have a photography program, right? They don't. Yeah.
No, but I would kind of created things to show my photographs. That was often what I did.
You found a way.
Yeah, I found a way. Graphic design is also crucial to know, and it helped support me through college. And I went to Parsons and Eugene Lang in New York City, so I went there for photography and literature. And so I've been between Miami and New York for most of my life, but Miami has really been home base for a long time, and will continue to be in many ways. You don't really leave your home when you live there for so long.
Yeah,
you know,
you always come back.
One of the threads through the rocking chair session is also like what Miami as a city has to offer to the artists, right? And why artists are drawn to be here. And since you've been in New York and in Miami, how would you kind of summarize like the situation for artists, being an artist in Miami versus being an artist in New York? And how would you?
Miami has a lot to offer, space being one of them, both in and outside. I think because in New York, winter comes and you're bound to the indoors in many ways, just based on temperature alone. But Miami really is budding, and it is always reinventing itself, and it gives you the chance as an artist to do that. There is this beautiful community of people working here, which is small enough that it's accessible and large enough that you can do real work, which New York has so many layers of artists working and history that it's harder to access, I think. It's a really good place. New York is a really good place to be inspired, but I think Miami's been a great place to create and to share. I loved returning, when I returned to Miami in 2012, how welcoming people were, and I could step into this community of people working here and talk to them and share and see, and also have the chance to show work. I like that it's a place to experiment, and people are open and they'll show up and they'll look. I find New York to be more critical, which is also incredibly important, and I was longing for that in Miami. It's a good place to experiment here, not always the best place to get critique. But I think that's good. It's nice to have the space to show and do wild things and express yourself in this way. Of course, the critique exists, but
the critique always comes eventually.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's a really exciting place. But then it's also home to this week that we're in right now, which is Art Basel, which all of these amazing humans from all over are coming, and the best work is coming here. And so Miami can really bring a lot to that. And you'll be seen. You never know who will see you. People come to Miami. It's a transient place. People are always coming in and out, and so your audience is changing. I mean, New York has that too, but I think it's harder for you to get eyes on your work.
Because there's so much competition
so much,
there,
and
right?
So, I mean, it's very expensive here, and we, being in Little Haiti, gentrification is a huge conversation, and prices are going up, and that's a different conversation, but it's hard to get a space in New York to show work at all. Where in Miami, there's lots of space, and people will go to that space to see it. And so it's a really nice opportunity to be a young curator and a young artist and a working person, because people show up. And that's sometimes the most important thing, just to be able to get eyes on your work and feel what the reaction is.
And I think you mentioned Superfine earlier also. I mean, that's a really young fair that popped out last year or the year before. It's been doing for 2 years. Deming, we talked to Deming in the Rocking Chair sessions. This year we have Fair Dot, like the non-commercial versus non-commercial feminist art fair, right? That was left a big impact on me, just to see the work like that, you know, in Miami, in a shopping center, brand new brick color shopping center, right? And then there is also Prism Art Fair, right, in downtown. Also a very young fair, and then the Dalecine gift shop and all that, you know.
Exactly.
I can't imagine in New York it would not be possible to just give so much space to young people to explore, you know, and just try it out.
It's ripe for experimentation, which is really fun. And I think that's what we kind of took on when we did I Haiti Basel. It was all about experimentation. What can we do? What different thing can we do during this art week time? And you get to try it out, and people arrive, and you get to experiment in fun ways throughout this kind of very traditional setting, which is Art Basel Convention Center art fair coming with the money and the collectors and the Picassos, you know?
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about that, how you organized it, how it started. Shuttles, I believe, articles, I think New York Times wrote about you guys. So just a little bit about that, if you could.
So that project I worked with Tara Long, who also is Poor Girl, the rapper in Miami, and Catherine Chadson, who's based in New York. And the three of us collaborated on this project, and it went kind of from 0 to 1 million, and very quickly we planned it in a very short period of time, and it was based between Tara and my studios, which is in 7111 complex, and the Little Haiti Thrift and Gift Store, which is on 59th and Northeast 2nd. So we used the thrift store, well, we collaborated with the thrift store owners, and we used that as a venue space for a fashion show, for a dinner, and for a lot of live music. In addition to me having an exhibition in my studio, I created a very clean gallery setting for that show, and I think I had 30 different artists on view for that, and Tara used her space as an experimental sound space. So we had 5 days of events during that Art Basel time, and we called it #IHatieBasel so that we could collect the information and collect all the imagery that was coming out, and we just went for it. I mean, we had 50 musical artists maybe throughout the weekend that performed. We had a rah-rah parade from the thrift store through Little Haiti to our studio on 71st Street. And so that was it was kind of just as many people were working in Little Haiti, but there were not the galleries there that are there now. It was right at that beginning in a way. So everyone was on Miami Beach at the fairs and at these parties, and we were in a rah-rah parade on Northeast 2nd. And we weren't creating any traffic, and there's hundreds of people there. And it was this amazing time of life, and I'm so glad we went for it. And we got some good sponsors, and we had some really good backing, and we were able to get some great musical artists, and the collaboration just worked out really well. And the 3 of us used our skills as we do best to showcase some really great things happening in Miami, and then bring in some people from around the world to showcase themselves as well. And it was very fun. Our intention was to keep it going and have it as this satellite art fair, but I'm happy it was a one-time moment. It really, I think, was most successful just as that. Especially since Tara has been able to be Poor Girl and kind of blow up as this amazing performance artist that she is. The next year she performed at the ICA and
at 3 Points.
I mean, she's really blossomed from there. So glad to have had that time to do that thing in Little Haiti, which now it's just
all the galleries moved from went to Little Haiti. Could you discuss a little bit about the 3 Points? Because we also saw within your resume that you had involvement like artistic curating and things like that. And can you talk a little bit about that?
I was able to work with 3 Points for 3 different years, which was really exciting for me, and my role changed some, and my main job for them, or my main project, was the activations, which are the satellite events that happened outside of the festival. So it was the daytime, the events that happened before the festival grounds opened, and events that happened at night, the after parties. So for 3 years I worked with many different people primarily in Wynwood to create events for the festival. So that was with Exile Books making a zine workshop, or with O1 Learning Center with Willie Avendano and Nelson to create a space for people to learn about VR there. There's talks, there's art events, well, 3 Points is music, art, and technology. So the events were based in those 3 things. And so I worked with many different people to create these events, and then I would do my own thing in addition. Is why not? That's kind of who Maggie Knox is who I am. If I'm going to do one thing, I might as well do it all. So one year I made a moving gift shop, which was in the co-worker space, which was a RV that Brandon Opalka ran. So I had a gift shop inside of there, which had lots of goods from local artists. It had a show up from Nice and Easy at the times before Nice and Easy and blinking right now.
No, they're also locally based. They're doing lots of stuff.
Yeah. And then last year I had an art auction. So I had a large gallery show also in Wynwood. That was the first art auction for 3 Points. And besides Stage the World and the activations, I also worked with all of the Maggie Knox women, about 20 different artists, to create a crystal installation for one of the stages.
Nice.
And so that was 333 quartz crystal points hung in different, what we called galaxies, but basically different structures hanging around the stage. And now all of the 30 different people that worked with 3 Points have those structures or those galaxies hanging there in their own space. So it really had some longevity, which was really exciting. And working with 3 Points was so fun, and it's been great to see how it's grown over the years.
Yeah, totally exploded.
It's exploded. They've always had amazing music, thanks to David Sinopoli and Erica. I mean, the whole team is awesome, and has been a really fun project for me to work with and see grow. And they gave me a lot of license they trusted me to make this program that was fun, and I love talking to people and working with people and showcasing what everyone's doing, and that's really what the activations program was.
And that's still going on, I believe. Exile Books did another scene workshop this year.
Patrick Walsh did it this year, or he ran the program or curated the program, but a lot of what I brought to the program lived on.
Yeah.
Which was...
That's beautiful to see too.
Really exciting for me. The Exile Books had their party, or their workshop. Veronica's booty-based bounce house, freeze dance party was there. I mean, many of these classics lived on, and that's great in the 5th year, and maybe the most successful of the festivals. But as we see in Miami, and any great project it's all building blocks for the next year. So it's nice to be part of that foundation and to live on through the program. It's exciting for me.
Incredible
to see that.
Yeah. I wanted to go a little bit, since we were talking about projects, the past projects. Do you want to talk a little bit about your time in New York during school, Parsons, and then how was that for you?
Sure.
To kind of switch from, you went to, Dash has a very good reputation as a good school. I think that they don't have a photography program. It should probably change at some point.
Yeah, they have photography classes.
But they
Mr.
have photography
Cabrera
classes.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I was still able to do my photography work. I started taking photographs when I was 10. My dad gave me a manual film camera, and I've always made art. I'd always drawn, and it was one of my favorite things. And growing up as a small child in New York, I took art classes at the Met, which is really nice. That's a place that's so familiar to me. And
you can take art classes directly in the Met.
Yes, they have children's art classes on Saturdays. So I did that for many years, and so that definitely formed me, and I think probably influenced my desire to be a curator, just seeing art hanging on the wall and being in that setting for so many years of my life. And Dash really changed my life. I had been going to a private girls' school beforehand and would be sneaking out of my classes to go to the art studio to finish my painting, and would come back and say, oh, my stomach really hurts. I was in the bathroom that whole time or something crazy. But I'd have paint on my pants, my uniform would be all disheveled. So Dash really gave me that chance to be the artist and give me the intellectual stimulation that I was looking for at that school, but didn't have. And I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to go back to New York. I loved it so much. I grew up there, and when I thought about college, I was mostly where do I want to live for a few years. Not really where do I want to learn. I'll learn anyway. But where do I want to live? And I wanted to be in New York. So I got the great opportunity to go to Parsons, which is an amazing school where I went for photography. But I did a dual degree with Eugene Lang, which is part of the new school as well. So it's their liberal arts college. And I created my own major there, which was mostly literature, writing, and sociology. So those things always, as you can see, this thread of me wearing two hats. So I'm not just doing photography, I'm reading Caribbean literature as well. You know, it's kind of a theme in my life. And that was an amazing opportunity to be in New York, not only to be with those professors and be in that great school and be meeting these amazing humans who are also given the chance to go to that school, but to be in New York and go to every gallery and museum and be stimulated from the city as well as the school. I love that time. It was a really good learning experience for me and pushed me. I mean, it really pushed me, pushed my work, and pushed my work, I think, mostly. Was able to think about what I was doing a lot and learn a lot. Hi, Stella. Good morning.
Hi, Stella. Just woke up.
So I was waking up. I'm curious. I know the first time that I crossed paths with you, we were, I think, at an opening, and you were wearing this bright yellow shirt that said Little Haiti Yacht Club. That's another one of your projects. Like, that's why I wanted to have you on, because you've done so many great things in the city. Could you talk a little bit about the Little Haiti?
The Little Haiti Country Club. So was lucky to join the country club, I think, mostly, which was really, I think, was born in Bhakti Baxter and Hawks's and Raymond Brown's studio, close to 7111. Hi, Stella. And so I was able, when I moved into the studio space, we started working together, and Alex Saw, our landlord and friend, wanted to show the artists working in Little Haiti at the time. So that was July, August of 2014. And it was a big collaborative effort, and I was lucky to be on view and then be able to kind of run programming in that space with Tara, with Bhakti, and I think there was 30 different artists on view, and we had the space just down the street from Made Now, so in the 80s on Northeast 2nd, which was an old church, and so we used that space to create a series of events over a 2-week period while this work was installed in this church setting, which still had the red carpet, still had the original paint on the wall, and everyone just installed their work where it fit best. And so also an amazing time. And I think Tara kind of attributes the birth of Poor Girl in that space, and much of what that performance artist came from her incredible performance in that space. And the t-shirts were made, the Little Haiti Country Club iconic t-shirts were made for that show. And that was just a great moment of community, which I think again comes back to why it's so nice to have the chance to make art in Miami. Because of that community and because of the variety of work that's being made and the different minds that are coming together, and that show is just a great portrait of it. There was, just fun, and it's mostly just like, let's keep this going forever and hang out like this. We should have a community center and get together and experiment and just have a good time. All things last for only him.
It was actually my first summer in Miami that the show happened, and I got to see it, and it was like my first interaction kind of with the Miami art community then.
Yeah.
I was not here yet. I was just visiting.
Oh, that was special, and I was really happy to be included, I think, because it felt I was just new into the community, and I was so happy to have that chance to get to know everyone well.
Because you just came back from New York,
I had just come back from New York, and Create Collect had kind of just ended, and I just started in my exploration of this community, and I was really glad that Alex and Tara and Bhakti gave me that chance to work with them, and yeah, it was really fun, and I loved the photographs that I was able to show there too. It was really nice, and everyone was just many great people were involved in that show. It's really a good one.
Okay, I guess my last question, of the projects that you've done, speaking of the past, which one, because I've seen, like, there's 3 projects I felt like were very personal. Which of the 3 do you feel were the most just cathartic for you in process and in making?
They all influence each other.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that straightforward, but one without the next wouldn't create the next. It's like that building block and foundation that I talked about earlier, where Haiti Basel was really just this amazing expression. I personally, among creating or working with those other 2 girls to create it, I showed 65 photographs of my sister in my space, and those photographs now, many of them sold, but those photographs now are installed in my house, and my daughter is now experiencing them on a daily basis, and those are photos of my sister's entire life. So because I went for it and I showed all that work and I did this huge expression of myself and kind of opened up all of this work that I'd done in my life, now I have them, and I'm able to enjoy them and appreciate them, and I'm glad for that chance. And I think it's allowed me to be able to show the work in the way that I want to now, and the way I have now. I'm not so intimidated to show such a variety of my work, and I see how people respond to it, and it's good to open yourself up as an artist and as a creator and see how people take it and go from there. And I think these next shows coming and the way I look at my work now is so influenced from that time. And it's just helped a lot.
The fearlessness, just going for it.
Yeah, going for it, and not being given the chance to think too much about it. Just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do a show in my space, and I want to do this, and I'm going to get these 65 frames made. Why not? Like, fuck it. Let me pour all my money into it, and just go for it, and see how people respond to it. And some of those photographs that I framed for that show were then put into the Mocha and are now in my house, and many people own them, and that was just such a nice experience. It's my my first big show after coming to Miami, just on a personal level as Sarah MK Moody, the artist, and having that people buy them. There's great things about showing art, but having people buy them and want them in their house and enjoy them is also exciting. And it reminded me of why I was a photographer, why I was an artist, and why I also created Maggie Knox to show work. And yeah, that was a really good one. But all of the ones from then on just came from that. And that also reminds you to just do it. Just go for it and put yourself out there and do the show, and don't hesitate, because the next best thing is coming.
Never know what's going to come out of it.
Yeah. And it's worth it, and the fear is always worth overcoming. George O'Keeffe said there's always fear, but that's when you jump.
That's
just go for it.
Maria has one last question.
Our very last ritualistic question. You were sitting in a magical rocking chair all this time with Stella.
Yeah.
And it grants you 3 wishes. You can wish for anything you want, but you have to say it out loud so it comes true. What would you wish for?
3 wishes. Well, I wish for happiness, health, laughter, and love. I'm gonna do 4.
Okay. Well, you have Stella, so she gets one.
Stella gets one of them.
Stella gets one of them, definitely.
I think they're kind of one wish, but I wish for that for myself, for Miami, and for my daughter.
Oh, I love that. And we hope that we get to see the Maggie Knox Museum come to life. Secretly, I hope it's here in Miami because we need more awesome museums locally. And seeing how you always come back eventually, I have a feeling. A good one. The tropicalness will call back to you.
Right. I mean, maybe the Miami underwater will get a stilts.
It could be a floating museum.
A floating museum. It'll be on stilts.
Totally.
I mean, it's really just...
Or floating.
It's really just a space for people to come together.
Or a submarine museum.
Maybe the museum is actually on a boat. I mean, or a barge. We'll see. But we'll let you know.
Thank you
All right,
for stopping
Sarah,
by to
thank
sit
you so
down
much for
with
coming.
us.
Thank you for having me.
Being the
Thank you for
chillest
bringing
baby
Stella.
ever for this interview.
Thank you to our listeners, and we're going to be back next week with a
Volume
new
36. I know.
Rocking Chair session.
Alrighty.
Bye, guys. Thanks
Bye.
for checking in. Bye.